Welcome back. Road crashes and fatalities are in focus tonight. Last Friday, two men, Walford Jackson and Garfield Plummer, they were killed by a motorist as they walked along the Saltmarsh Main Road in Trelawney. Mr. Jackson was 29 years old. Garfield Plummer was 35. This is just one instance of deaths on Jamaica's roads caused by motorists. If it's road fatalities like these that the National Road Safety Council is seeking to prevent, Julia Smiley takes a closer look at the road fatality figures for the first half of this year.
The National Road Safety Council is again on a drive to keep road fatalities below 300 this year. That target has been consistently missed every year within the last decade, and so far this year, 152 persons have been killed in 122 crashes. This figure is more than halfway to the below 300 target and reflects a 12% decrease in crashes and a 1% increase in fatalities when compared to the first half of last year. Pedestrians account for 37% of road users killed in traffic crashes, while 26% of those killed were passengers. 27% of the passengers killed were in public passenger vehicles, while 58% of the lives lost were persons traveling in private motor vehicles. Male fatalities this year are down 1% so far from the 78% accounted for in 2010. However, female fatalities are up 9% compared to 22% last year. Children and the elderly account for 10 and 13% respectively of persons killed in road fatalities up to June this year. 27% of children killed belonged to the 5 to 9 and 0 to 4 age groups respectively, while 53% belonged to the 10 to 14 age group. 11% more child pedestrians were killed for the first 6 months of this year when compared to the same period last year. Meanwhile, elderly pedestrian fatalities decreased by 17% when compared to the similar period in 2010. Pedestrians may want to be extra careful between the hours of 2 to 6 a.m. and 6 to 10 p.m., as during those hours, 14 and 41% of those individuals were killed on the nation's roads. The National Road Safety Council says 23 private motor vehicle passengers have been killed since the start of the year, a 9% decrease when compared to last year. Of those passengers, 17% belonged to the 25 to 29 and 35 to 39 age groups respectively. In 2009, the National Road Safety Council missed its below 300 road fatalities target by 48, as 347 persons were killed on our roads. The target was missed by 18 in 2010, and this year it's projected that a total of 314 persons will die on the nation's roads from crashes. Will that be the figure at the end of the year? We'll just have to wait and see.
Thanks, Julia. Halfway through the year 2011, it's a good time for us to assess where we are. So we've invited the Ministry of Health's medical epidemiologist in chronic diseases and injury prevention, Dr. Tamu Davidson, as well as Dr. Lucian Jones, he's vice chairman of the National Road Safety Council, to help us understand the mid-year review as put out by the National Road Safety Council. Dr. Jones, welcome. I'm going to begin with you. Where we are now, what can the National Road Safety Council say for the figures we're seeing, which are generally unchanged, up 1% over last year, but in terms of statistically unchanged?
The latest data I have is that for this year, as of July 4th, yesterday, 155 people perished on our roads compared to 151 last year. We are not doing as well as we were doing at the first quarter of this year. So we are concerned. Primarily, the multiple fatality crashes. You recall that we had one in Manchester with the Homewood students. We had another terrible one on the Bustamante Highway where 3 people perished, including a baby.
Yes.
We have never had so many multiple fatality crashes in 1 year as we have had this year. There's some major, major problem. We recall, I think it was the NRCS, or there was a crash near to the gorge about a month or two ago where a number of men were on the way to Ocheres who died.
Yes, the National Solid Waste.
National Solid Waste, right.
Truck.
So we have had a number of those, and part of the problem we are seeing in a number of the cases, people overtaking their own corners with loaded passengers, and it's just absolutely crazy. So it's a problem we are facing with, certainly in terms of achieving below 300 this year. We are still hoping it will happen.
Yes.
But there are some major, major challenges.
And that puts another major challenge now on Jamaica's health system, where dealing with these injuries are concerned. Dr. Davidson, how bad is it?
Well, certainly, as the report shows, quite a few fatalities. In terms of our health system, we're seeing over 17,000 for 2009, 17,000 visits or persons who have come to our accident and emergencies for treatment. And if you look at the whole situation with road traffic crashes and injury, you will see that it's like a pyramid. So basically, at the top of the pyramid, you have the fatalities. And then you have those who come in for treatment. That's that 17,000 that we see. And then you have those who actually access treatment in the private sector. And then you have those who really didn't come in for treatment. So the problem is really a huge problem, which really requires, and we have been working with the Road Safety Council in looking at a broad multi-sectoral approach and response.
Well, what kind of costs are we looking at on the health budget?
Well, in terms of the cost, and this is just for the medical cost, we're looking at over $2 billion.
Over $2 billion
in just 1 year.
In one fiscal year?
Yes, yes. And that's the medical cost. And
what other costs are associated?
Well, if you look at the indirect costs, which are hard to measure to the families, because many of these persons are the breadwinners for families.
So we're talking loss of man-hours as well?
Man-hours, income for those who actually survive the crash and have some sort of disability. It means that that is a cost to that family and also to the health sector to look after that patient right throughout their lifetime.
We have some figures to share. We're going to do that after the break. But Dr. Jones, I want you to help me to understand, first of all, is there a need for more driver education or stricter penalties where tickets and that kind of thing is concerned?
You want to mention two, but I would say all of the above if you had mentioned 3 or 4.
There's more.
We need to put everything together and put everything on the table. There's no question that the major problem we have in Jamaica today is the indiscipline on our roads. So people live, so they drive. We have to begin to care more for each other. You cannot be going around a corner, a blind corner, not knowing what is coming at you with a car loaded with people. It's just so crazy. You can put a policeman at major thoroughfares. You can have as many cars as you can. But you cannot put a policeman on every major black spot where people have been dying.
Yes.
So we have to find a way to educate our people that this is a serious national problem, as serious as it is in homicide, yes, which is a big problem in Jamaica. This is the second leading cause of sudden death in our country. Mm-hmm. We have to face up to it.
I want to take you up on the point of the police issuing tickets and to examine whether or not we couldn't broaden it to include perhaps traffic wardens who would also deal with moving violations apart from the parking violations they're now restricted to dealing with. But we take that after the break and some statistics for you as well.